Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Woman in Bloom. Very, very excited to get a chance to speak to Rendani Namakabani.
Thanks for saying my surname right. Oh my God.
Listen, important.
Yes.
Research.
Yes.
Yeah. Very excited to talk to you about your work, which we all been following for a really long time. And I wanted to begin with the way that you describe yourself, because I think that that's centrally important. And it also made me chuckle. I loved it. So, definition: a multifaceted artist, aka doer of amazing things. I'm an illustrator, art director, film director, and all-round bomb-ass conceptual artist. I also make really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art that is mostly centered around women, blackness, and African people in relation to the world. Sometimes a layered and touchy take, but someone has to do it. I have no shortage of inspiration when it comes to creating positive stories around African people, because we can never overdose on African positivity. Can you join me in welcoming Rendani?
Thank you.
I'm now going to go to how someone else describes you. Rendani was a recipient of the Mail & Guardian 200 Young South Africans last year, and described as a multifaceted artist who infuses her illustration and graphic design skills to create vivid and bold artworks. And in that talk, we were speaking a little bit earlier about how, in doing research for this interview, I found lots of interviews dating really far back and multiple different versions of Rendani, of the evolution of Rendani. And something that you'd said in that Mail & Guardian profile was, I believe in our past, present, and future. So I'm going to ask you to reflect on that a little bit and reflect on your past, present, and future.
Okay. So when I said that, what I meant was that I'm very much, I think I'm a traditional person, but I'm also like in today, you know? So the past, obviously, like we see it over and over again. It informs where we are today and it informs where we're going tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, it's one of those cliche things. And I'm a walking cliche. So, yeah. And I basically believe that the work that women specifically have done in the past has brought us to where we are today. And the work that we are still doing in the time and the space that we're living in is definitely going to inform where we are tomorrow, you know. And I think even as artists, like in school, I struggled a lot with European art just because I couldn't relate to it. I couldn't see myself in it. And as soon as I discovered or started to interrogate and look more into the kind of art that we made, I felt like, okay, cool. So we did exist in the past, you know. We didn't just come out of nowhere. And I'm so glad that there are so many more of us right now that are doing what we're doing in the way that we want to do it. Albeit, like, it's difficult, I won't lie. I think, like, things like Instagram, for example, make it look super like, yeah, that was easy, that was nice, you know? There have been times where I literally don't have a single idea and something is due tomorrow. And I always hate to be the person that's like, hey guys, please give me like 10 more minutes, please give me 2 more days. Like, you know, I don't like to sound like how typical artists sound, and that like it seems like we are very careless with our work a lot of the time because nothing is ever really all that serious. But to bring it back to the question, I really feel like I am one of those people who is creating tomorrow in today, you know. And I don't know if I believe in reincarnation like that, but I do feel like there was a version of me that existed that contributed to where I am right now, you know. And I hope that future me, 10, 15, or if I come back as another person, that I'll still be able to pick up the baton and like continue.
Thanks so much for that. I think we can all agree with the sentiments that you expressed there. And I want to also touch on something that you'd said where you were speaking about talking yourself out of being an artist. And I think that a lot of people, regardless of what kind of art you make, you can resonate with that idea of talking yourself out of being an artist.
Yeah.
Why for you was that a reality?
I think because like I have a past of not being cool enough, and this is like, hear me out. Hear me out. This is like from being a kid, right? I was bullied a lot, and it's like the dumb things. It's like I was a fat kid, I was dark skinned, you know, so I definitely wasn't the conventionally cool one. Even though like my granny used to gas me up, bro. She was like, "You're the bomb." And I believed it because she was right, you know? But like when you go outside, then you have people like calling you all types of things and basically like they're playing with your mind. So as a kid, you're very malleable to what's happening around you. So you start to absorb those things. And I think like a part of me believed that that was true. And as I grew up and the more I started to like be comfortable in myself, especially like as an artist, like in my family, I don't have one of those people who I can say like, yo, my gran or my aunt or my uncle was into music or they painted and they, you know, I've been a weirdo my whole life. Like, you know, from how I dressed to the things that I was interested in, I didn't really have people that I could relate to in my immediate space. So coming into adulthood as well, and as also being an artist, it's like, I don't find, or in the past, I didn't find like a lot of places where I could relate to people. And in like talking myself out of being an artist, it's because I was, and an illustrator in particular, you know, it was because I didn't see anyone else who was making work in the same way that I do. So then it automatically felt like, bro, like the thing that you're doing, it's too futuristic. It's too niche. Like you're literally like the only one who does this thing like this. And I still haven't come across people who make work like me, which is a good thing now. Like I'm in my 30s. Oh, the third floor has opened my eyes. Dear Lord. And now I'm like, yes, that's a great thing, you know? So I basically spoke myself out of it because I didn't feel like I had a big enough voice that could carry me out of the environment that I was in. And I mean, I've been illustrating for 10 years now, and like I think in the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, that's when things have started to like start to bloom essentially and blossom and look like, okay, actually looks like you kind of have a future in this thing. Like, don't stop, you know?
So there's a lot that you've said there that makes me want to take us to university, to you studying at UJ. And within that, you'd spoken to Kona Juta and Dibia, and you were speaking about how you didn't have a mentor.
Yeah,
and
still don't.
And feeling like if you had a mentor, it would have taken you so much further than where you are. And, you know, that is, you know, something that resonates in that having mentors for me has been critically important, and I've seen just what they can do, even in a more unofficial way. It's not officially like I'm your mentor, you're my mentee, kind of relationships, but I think that it's a role that I see you playing in different ways, whether you're bringing people into conversation spaces, whether you're curating shows, with the kind of work that you are building around building a community. How do you see yourself in that mentorship space?
It's so difficult for me. Like I participated in a thing that I now think that I shouldn't have participated in. And I was asked to be a mentor, you know, and I'm always like, naturally I'm down to help people wherever I can, you know. And I felt like with my mentee, there was just too much going on. And so I struggled because I didn't have a reference point of this is how you guide or teach someone stuff. And I mean, like, she had questions and I answered them. And we were cool, essentially, you know, but I feel like I robbed her of so much time where I should have said no to doing that thing, because I feel like after having done it, I felt like, Rendani, actually, you weren't ready for that, you know? And I also feel like I robbed her of her time, because she could have gotten someone else who had like the energy for it, you know? And I gave her like tips and tricks here and there, but I feel like had I had that kind of guidance before, I would have been able to lead her better, you know? So I mean, like, the way that I see mentorship now, I think, is in a way where I read a lot of interviews. I love interviews. I really, really love interviews, because a lot of the time I'm more interested in the artist's story. And by artist, I mean like artists all the way around, whether you're an architect, whether you're a designer, whether you're, and like design is very like, it's a big thing. So wherever you are in the design space, I believe in people's stories like more than anything else. So I feel like I've taken guidance from that, but it hasn't been like oh, this is a practical thing for me to use. And I try to approach someone about being my mentor, and she was like to me, bro, we're not gonna check in every week. Like, if you have a question, if I can help you practically, then cool, let's do it. But I feel like literally the world is your resource, you know? So go out and find the thing that you've been wanting to find out. And I guess it's what I've been doing anyway. And this is why I love interviews. Like someone like Virgil Abloh, for example. In varsity, I like, and I guess you see it now with like, I do like a lot of things. And I was told in varsity that I'm confused. And that like, Rendani, bro, you're studying graphic design, but you want to do Phil, and you want to do that, and you want to do the other thing. Like, pick one thing and like make it work, you know? And that didn't make sense to me. I was just like, like, what if I'm only here till I'm 40, bro? Then all I did was be a graphic designer my whole life. Like, that, even just like thinking about it now, it makes me feel so nervous and anxious, because I don't look at life as something where you are here to do just one thing. And I mean, there are people who are like that. Like, you're brought here to do one specific thing. So you do that thing like forever, and it's amazing. But I don't feel like I'm that person. So back to my point about Virgil, as soon as I came across his work, and I obviously went and I found every interview that I could that he's ever done, and I listened to all of his lectures, and I was like, this guy makes so much sense, because like, he started architecture. He's not building any buildings right now, but he's applied that to every other thing that he's doing, and it makes so much sense, you know? So I feel like mentorship is very tricky for me, but I'm learning to find it around me and not so much in personal relationships. I think there will be a time in my life where I'll have someone to like mentor me one-on-one, whatever that will look like, you know, and I'll be super open to it. But I think for now, I'm definitely just gonna keep listening to interviews and reading interviews, because it's amazing the kind of stories and the places that people come from, you know? And I find myself being not influenced, but listening to people who have like a similar mindset to mine. This guy is very problematic, but Kanye West is one of my people as well, you know? Like, as soon as he was like, actually, I want to make clothes, and no one believed that he could do it. There are silhouettes of shoes right now where everyone wants to make the kind of shoe that he made. Like, people are making clothes in the same colorways that he made, you know? And it's like, yes, of course, he didn't work on him by himself, but he did it, you know? And he was told no a lot, like a lot. And I feel like for me, that's where mentorship is right now. But I don't feel like I am personally, I mean, if you take anything out of my work or what I do, that's great, you know, but I just hope that people don't personalize their experiences to mine, or they don't like have an expectation of me to like guide them in some way. I am walking in the dark. I'm like you as well right now, you know. Literally everything is like, it's an experiment. Like Mashaka, for example, was an experiment, and you'll see it in how it looks in the edit. Like, some things are like, no man, why does that one look like that? And why does that one look like that? It was an experiment. Although it came out like really beautifully, and I'm very proud of it, it could be better, you know? Yeah.
But I think what I hear from you is like working in a space of experimentation and play.
Yes.
And the need to explore multiple different mediums in order to find a voice within each of these.
Yes.
I think you recently were speaking about how you're working in photography, you're working in film, in graphic design, in art direction, and each of the different mediums feels like a different voice that you're working in,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
But talk to me a little bit about that final year of varsity when you start finding that style. Because I think that that's what every artist hopes for, is some kind of signature, that you can look at that. And I think all of us in this room, you can look at any of the work you've done and you go, okay, that's President Honey.
Yeah. And that's dope. I really love that. Like, that people can say that that's my work. And like, yo, guys, oh my God, varsity was so stressful. Wow. Also because like, one of the primary reasons why I chose to study graphic design is because somehow I had convinced myself that there would be no drawing required. I'm so bad at freehand drawing. Oh my God. Like, I've become better. But at the time, I was just like, I don't want to draw on paper because I'm very bad with perspective, you know? And even when you're in the classes, like, they used to bring in nude models for us to draw figures. I, like, literally cried in one class, and I was just like, you know what, it's okay if I fail. I'm okay with that, you know? But in the final year, and I think I'm naturally a late bloomer. It takes me a while to get some things. Also because like I want to be really good at something, and I work very slowly, so I take my time.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I just don't do well under pressure. Like, you know, in the job interview, like I do well, and I will say I don't do well under pressure. I specifically don't. I need time to do things.
Yeah.
You know, and in my final year. Also because, like, I actually flunked that year. But not because of drawing. Like, oh my God. Anyway, I found this style called pointillism. And basically, you make shadows of objects using dots. And I was like, I feel like I can trick the system, you know? And I did. I got my first distinction in drawing that year in the final project because I'd given myself the time to go and do the research. There was no one on my back like, yo, the lady is standing here for an hour and like you need to be done by the time that she leaves, you know? There was zero pressure for me to do what they wanted me to do. Also, the project was draw whatever you want to draw. So I was like, I'm going to draw butterflies. I'm going to draw leaves. I'm going to draw trees. I'm going to draw the easiest things that I can find. And I did really, really well. I really surprised myself. So yeah, I'm slow just by nature, you know. So the thing that I'm learning to accept about myself is that I can say no when things feel like, okay, now you want me to work fast, you know. Like, I'm also one of those people who, I can't do on the spot things. Like, I have to think about it. Even though you need an answer now, and I know you need an answer now, I was like, am I making the right decision, you know, in this moment? So, yeah, like that final year was a blessing in disguise as much as it was also like terrible because it was the first year where also because I was good at school. Like, you know when you're good, grade 0 to grade 12, you come into varsity, you're barely passing, but you're passing nonetheless. You know, you're making it to all the years. So when I failed my final year, I was like, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, and the thing is, my report came earlier than when it would come to my parents, right? So like, as soon as the report hits the house, like 2 months later, I was just as surprised as everyone else. I was like, what I'm not gonna do today is sell myself out. And I was like, me, I could be an actress if I want to be. I was shook. My dad opened my report, bro, and he was like, And I was like, you know? And he's like, we have to go dispute. I'm like, yeah, we have to go dispute this because, like, heck me, fail, never. In the back of my mind, I knew exactly what happened. So, yeah.
So we're adding actress and comedian to the list.
Look, I'm a slasher. I might as well carry on with the slashes, you know? I'm a super hyper, multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that like a lot of people in this room can attest to being in that same space of what you speak about is applying that different perspective to all the different mediums that you work in. How do you think that style has evolved out of varsity?
When I look at my drawings, and my final year when I finally went and redid it, was 2013. So I graduated when I was 22. Like final graduation, the real one. I was 22. That was 10 years ago. I'm 32 this year. So, it's changed quite a lot. Also, I think like I've applied a lot more grace to myself. You know, I'm not chasing anyone else's vision or dream or, I don't know, expectation of what I should be. And I'm leaning more into myself, which feels really, really amazing. And this past weekend, like Yoon said to me, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want to do. You make the rules, you know? And I was like, actually, yes, because I've been doing that anyway, you know? So my progress from when I started versus where I am now, I can definitely say that there's a lot more freedom in the way that I make work. Yeah.
I find that interesting that you were saying that Yoon Ambush's advice to you is do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Your advice to creatives was do whatever you want, don't stop.
Look. It's so easy when you're telling other people to do whatever they want. Also, like...
And sometimes you need to hear that yourself, or sometimes the advice that you often give others is the advice you're giving yourself.
Exactly.
Quietly.
Exactly. And I think in that moment, that's exactly what it was, because at the time, I was trying to convince myself so hard that, like, you didn't make a mistake by quitting your job and just deciding to freelance. Like, I had to have, till today, and today I'm in like super doubt mode, but it's like, you have to believe in yourself, you know? And I know that it looks great and amazing, like everything is put together on the outside, but on the inside, my heart is doing this.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm always nervous, I'm always scared, I'm always like, I'm just always anxious about stuff, even though I know that I'm like, the thing that I never get wrong about myself is that I'm good. Like, I'm amazing. Like, you can tell me a lot of things about me, but you can never say that I'm bad at what I do. You know? Like, I know. Like, I know I'm the bomb. I know, you know? But like, sometimes there are definitely like moments of doubt that creep in. And that's just because no one really gets to, I mean, like, very few people, my closest friends, get to see like the back end of it all. And like, you know those visuals that stylists put up when they're like, the garment looks nice from the front, but
And
in
then
the
the
back,
pegs.
the things that are holding it together are crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what this part of my life feels like right now, is that the front looks so pretty, but the things and the people that are holding me together in the back, if one lets go, we're all going down, you know? Yeah. But I do whatever you want to do, guys. Like, life is short. You could die tomorrow. And my thing is always like, what if I get to heaven and God is like, what did you do? And I say, I just like, I worked, bro. I made money. I bought a house. I had kids. I had a family. He's like, but I gave you a talent. What did you do with it? You know? Like, now you can't come in because you didn't use the gift that I gave you, you know? So I always like, that always just plays in my mind. And I'm just like, I can't disappoint God. More than anyone else, I can't disappoint God. You know?
The thing that I always think about it in that realm is uniqueness. You know, sometimes you can doubt the thing that you're doing in the way that you're doing it, or you see someone else doing it, and you're like, maybe I should do it a bit more like that. And I always think, like, what if you were the person who was going to change sound?
Exactly.
Or you were going to change visual art, or you were going to change something, but you didn't just follow the thing that you were doing because you were looking around. And I think sometimes social media makes us look around a lot. And just the struggle to shut down the noise and just focus on craft can be difficult. But I think that I hear the murmurings of mms in the room because I think that that's one of the real reasons that Bloom was started, was a way to demystify creative work and to take us to the back, to take us to the pegs, to show the process in front of what often looks very nice, as creative careers can look in the front. But yes, it's full of pegs in the back. I think that that's a very real reality to the work of it all.
It's so real.
Yeah, just that reality of trying to hold it together. But, so I want to talk a little bit about going independent now. And the recent project, tell me more about it.
That was literally a dream come true, number one. Like, when we were speaking about mentorship earlier, Yoon was one of my people, you know. I found an interview that she did on Business of Hype a few years ago. And I was like, why do you sound like me? You know, you sound like me, which is dope. And so naturally, I went and I found more interviews, you know. And we have like a similar background in that she studied graphic design. But now she's not, she's applying it in a way that I see myself doing it. She's doing it in clothes, she's doing it in technology, she's doing it in in a lot of things, you know? And people trust her. And that's what I'm working towards generally as a person. And I think having worked with a brand like Nike, that's also wish list, tick, you know? And I think my friends always say to me, you know, you're the luckiest person. Because I will say things. And I will say them without thinking about it too much. I was like, oh, one day I wish, you know. And they're like, you know, you said the thing a few months ago and now it's literally happening, you know. So I don't know what manifestation soap I have, but when I find it, I'm going to start selling it. But that was amazing for me because it was affirming, number one. And it affirms the thing of me not seeing other people who make work like I do, you know. And the thing and we had a very brief conversation, but the way that the thing about doing what you want came up with Yoon was that I was giving her a little bit of a background about myself and what I do and she was like, that's dope. You should always just be yourself. And that's what she preaches a lot of the time, you know. And I feel in the way that I related to her was also in the thing of there aren't many people who do things the way that I do and being okay with that. And that sometimes it'll take long, and it's taken so long, you know, and it still feels like it's taking long. But I feel there's nothing that I want that I won't get, you know, especially work-wise. There's no project that I want that I won't get. Maybe the way that I want it may not be in that exact way, but the fact that I'm able to come into those spaces, you know, is really, really amazing, and it's affirming for me. So also because I think I'm lucky in the sense that I get a lot of projects where they're just do whatever you want. This is the brief, but do whatever you want because we just want your style, you know? And that's the thing that I will never take away from myself as well, trying to fall into the the more commercial way of making work, because I am the bomb, and like real recognizes real. And so, yeah.
You've talked a bit about no one doing work or creating in the way that you work. How would you describe the way that you do things?
Very chaotic. Like my mind, I wish I could go inside of my mind and sit and see what's going on in there, you know? Because like one of the best things I ever made, the Indaba is album cover. You know what? When we were done, every time I look at it, I'm just like, you made that, bro. Like, I can't believe that I made it, you know, because there's not a place that I can say, oh, you know how like artists always have like rationales for where things, I don't know where it comes from, you know? I literally feel like I'm in a trance when I'm making work. Like, I'm there, but I'm not there also. And it starts off very like simple. Like, I don't have a pattern in my mind. I don't have like, I'm literally just, my mind and my hand are just like guiding each other, you know, in doing what we're doing. So that's why I don't know what my work will look like tomorrow. I don't know what it will look like 3 days from now. Like, you know, I just feel like, I feel like I'm one of God's faves, honestly, in that, guys, all I can say is I'm the bomb. Damn, like, you know, I'm that girl. But like, I honestly, I don't, and I hope that in the future, I will have a rationale to say, this is where this comes from. Because I think that those things are helpful, you know. Yeah. But I believe in blackness, number one. I believe in always like repping African black people in particular, and women specifically, you know. Even though like some of my portraits may seem a little ambiguous, but it definitely stems mostly from a woman's face. You know, I'm very fascinated with like black portraiture. Yeah, like I don't have a deep answer, honestly. I'm not a deep person, but I'm God's fave, so.
Well, it just sounds like you're creating from a very intuitive space.
Definitely.
And following that intuition.
Definitely.
We're going to open up so that some of you can ask questions. Do you have questions in the room? Please don't be shy. Okay.
Question. Why did you feel the need, or what did you not see in film documentary space that you felt that Mashada would close the void? You know, like, I think the question of what's the purpose of Mashada is explained and why Mashada existed. What gap or what hole did you feel like Mashada is, I don't know, filling up in within the film space, within the documentary of artists in South Africa? Like, why Mashaka?
I'm just going to repeat that so that the podcast gets it.
Cool.
But it's just, why Mashaka, and what gap did you think Mashaka was filling in the documentary space?
We have a very terrible archiving system here, like just in general in South Africa, and I feel like we have a lot of many very brilliant artists, and I'm lucky enough to be friends with like, or associated with a lot of them, right? So initially, Mashaka didn't exist as Mashaka before. It was something, if you look at the treatment, it was something completely different to what it is right now. It was supposed to be a whole film with a film inside of a film, and like there was a lot that was meant to happen. But because of like budget and time constraints, I had to make a decision to bring it into this direction, right? And I feel like what it does is that, and this is just based on a lot of feedback that I've gotten, which is like cool, because I think subconsciously that was part of the intent, is that we have a lot of people who are around us who do really amazing things, and we kind of sort of know their work because we engage with it, but we don't know them as people. And I think like the thing that I look for in people who are really big outside of the country is what I'm missing here, is that I can't just go and Google Elizabeth, and like she has like a personal story. Like people didn't know your name is Elizabeth. People were thinking you are Mom Thug, like in real life. I'm just like, that's crazy, you know? And so that was really beautiful for me, for people to basically like, even people who are close to the people who I interviewed were like, I didn't know that about Xavier. I didn't know that about Wanda. Like, you know, and I think like, it makes it so much more, it makes the work so much more relatable when you know a little bit about the person. Even, you don't have to know about their whole lives, you know? But I feel like we're so far apart from each other, but we're also so close, but like we're not really. And like I said before, I'm very interested in people's stories and about their lives more than I am in their actual work. I like to know where the process stems from. And so like also just like archiving, I think it would be nice if we had more places where we could access information about the people who we're seeing all over the internet all the time. Yeah.
I think those archives are really important. Sometimes when I'm watching a live show, or just viewing incredible work, I get the feeling of being inside history. Like I know that in 20 or 30 years, I'm gonna say, yes, I was at that show, Tandiswa at Lyric Theatre, or I was there. Just that deep sense of marking a moment and knowing that that moment was important.
Yes.
And then as a writer, for me, what you're saying resonates with that sense of always wanting to find the information on someone, find who you're inspired by, what drives you, why are you trying to make the work that you're trying to make, where does it stem from?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the process of making Mashaka and how that evolved.
It was very cold, number one. We shot it last year at my house. We were looking for studios and like everything was like mad expensive, you know. And I just had to end up making the decision of like, okay, cool, we can transform my living room into a double studio. I gathered like, guys, when I say that I'm lucky, I mean that like, I have good people around me, like really, really good people around me that would like do almost anything for me, you know, and I would do the same for them. I gathered friends and I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I want you to be in it, or I want you to shoot it. I want you to help me art direct. There wasn't a single no in sight. Everyone was like, okay, when, where, what else do you need from me? You know, which was really amazing. We shot it over 2 days. And it was actually supposed to be something about like, I was trying to archive or tell the story of where the honey came from and like get people's different perspectives as to like how it was, where were they when they were experiencing that project come up. But like, as we started doing the interviews, the first person we interviewed was Neto, which was the photographer for the honey. And I just felt like, it's like, there isn't much to say about the honey, honestly. Like, we're gonna...
I mean, there's a lot to say about the honey, but it also just sounds like you followed where the project was leading you.
Yeah, it's that intuition thing again, you know? And my gut was just like, bro, just talk like you guys are homies because that's what we are, you know? Like, speak to the person like you know them, you know? So it was that following of the gut and just like letting the project and the process lead us. Also, we didn't know what the docu would be called. When it would be like, I came up with the name probably like a month, 2 months before we were rolling it out, you know, so it wasn't like, and I sat with the footage, like I sat with it to a point where every time I was seeing Wanda in the streets, I was like, Wanda, my brother, we're gonna edit it. Because I could see it was becoming annoyed with me, you know, like, when is it coming out? You know, everyone who worked on it was like, when is it coming out? You know? And I think like, I was so scared to say to everyone, guys, I'm still going through the footage, you know? And that's where my taking my time and my slowness comes in. And me also just having to learn to like, be on some, actually, not now. When it's ready, you'll know, you know? But yeah, I hope that answered the question.
It does answer the question. Anyone else with a question? Now they're burning. Let's go. Okay, we're going to start over here, and then we'll go to the back.
You speak a lot about the uncertainty of being an independent, multi-hyphenate. I want to know if you figured something out or you're still at the Shabana.
So the question is, you speak a lot about being a multi-hyphenate. Have you figured something out about the uncertainty of it all? Or does it all feel still?
I'm still in the dark. I'm still very much in the dark. Also because I'm very new to being independent. I mean, I've had a 9-to-5 since I was like 17, 18-ish. I've been working since I was very young. So I've always had a job, you know. And I've worked as a painter at hospitals. I was a barista at some point. I was a lecturer. I was a content manager. Then I started working in advertising probably like 6 years ago. Hate it. For reasons we shall talk about another day. But like, I'm still in the dark and I'm still figuring it out. And I'm like, I think I'm kind of getting used to it, but also really not, you know? And for me, it's the uncertainty of, when are things gonna pop? Also, what does it look like when things pop?
Does it still have pegs?
Yeah, there are pegs, there are many things still holding the thing together, you know? And I was actually saying to Dineo earlier that we were both saying that as soon as we can come to a place where we don't have to rely on the internet to like show up and look like we're busy. Like, I'm gone, bro. Like, deactivating. Okay, maybe I won't deactivate because archiving. So, but like, but I'm gone. Like, as soon as I can get the chance to be gone from the internet, you're not going to see me.
I think that's interesting because I think a lot of people feel that way. But I think that in just giving you some credit for it, you have figured out some critical tenets of what it means to be independent, which is to be in community.
Yeah.
You're in deep community with folk. And I know that I've been having a lot of conversations with creatives in the past 2 weeks where everybody's like, this thing is so hard to do by myself. But everyone is saying that. So, you know, what we've started to say is, okay, what do you have? What do I have? Let's make a pot of skills. And let's figure out this journey that even if we're on different journeys, you're a filmmaker, you're a fashion designer, I'm a writer or musician or whatever it is, that we start to, just to find, even in independence, just to find a togetherness, a community in that.
Definitely, yeah. I don't think I'd still be here if I didn't have community, honestly. Yeah. That's why I'm so big on collaboration. Like, work with whoever you can work with. And just like, everyone must bring their A game to the table. That's the tricky part. Because some people are just there to, and I've learned my lesson, Shem, wow. I've had like very many good experiences, but in the times where I've been burnt really bad, you know? And it's like, everyone who's working on the thing, everyone's heart needs to be in it, you know? And I know like we say these things a lot, but if I ask you for something, also I'm not asking from a place of you owe me or whatever, you know, or like I'm, what's the word when you think things belong to you?
Entitled?
Yes. I'm not asking from a place of entitlement, you know. I'm asking from a place of like, firstly, I'm being super humble. Like, please and thank you, go a long way. And also, I'm asking because I trust you. And you're going to say yes because you trust me too, you know. And even if we don't know exactly what we're doing, we have each other. And we're going to ask each other questions. And if we don't have the answer to those questions, we know someone else who does. So, yeah.
I'm going to go to the back of the two questions. We're going to start here and go here.
So I wanted to ask, how does the future President Honey look like? Besides the fact you said the exhibition, but how does the brand President Honey vision look?
What does President Honey look like in the future?
I don't know, honestly. Like, you know when I said I'm in the dark earlier? I literally am in the dark. So And I take things as they come. As much as I have like big dreams, I don't want to be essay based for too much longer. But I don't know what it looks like when I'm that side. It kind of feels like, also I don't know where that side is. I mean, I'd love to go to Amsterdam, but also the snow and, you know, but I don't know. But I definitely see myself being international, continental also. I definitely want to step outside of Johannesburg and South Africa as a whole and go and like bring a new flavor outside of here is where I see myself, honestly. Like, I want to be an international peninsula.
Final question from the back. So how do you try to portray womanhood, think womanhood in your work?
I think the honey is the perfect answer for that. Because when I first started making the honey, it was firstly because like an illustration in an exhibition that I was a part of failed, like F for failed. People were walking past the artwork like it didn't exist, you know? So I had to like restructure and go back to the drawing board and think about what is the honey, what do I want this thing to be. So in my ideation process, I felt like I wanted to show how firstly, I'm a very diverse person. I'm not one thing. So I don't think that you can put being a woman, womanhood, like all of those things into a box, because it doesn't exist. Like the box doesn't exist, you know, unless you make it yourself. I think it's really whatever you want it to be, you know, like, and as people and as black women especially, we do the thing where we literally build our own boxes because someone said something and it's like, oh, now it must be this thing. I used to think that like the only way that as a girl that I could be seen by people as if I'm like quiet and sweet. You know, there are those women that are just like naturally, they're just like super sweet and super like, you know. I'm not that girl, honestly. Like, and if you don't like it, I'm so sorry, but like that's a you problem, you know? Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's no one way to put it. Also because just as human beings in general, how you are now is not how you're gonna be 3 days from now or 10 years from now. So I don't think there's one way of being, but like if you are able to constantly like explore yourself, I think you'll be fine. Like you can decide that you want to be a tomboy today, and then tomorrow you just want to be in your femme era. Go for it, you know? You're gonna die one day. So it's whatever you want it to be, honestly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks so much for your questions. Thanks so much for your presence. Thanks so much to Rendani, for the team at Mama Kashaka. We're looking forward to now screening and watching Mashaka, so you'll get a chance to see it. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your authenticity. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.